We're diving deep into the top 6 ultra-rare UK Elizabeth 5p coins that could change your life forever, could be worth not just hundreds or thousands, but potentially millions of pounds. These are the coins collectors dream of, the ones that slip through the cracks of history, hiding errors, unique strikes, and mysterious minting secrets. The 1968 UK Elizabeth 5 new pence coin. At first glance, it looks just like any other small silver-colored coin from the late 1960s, one that millions of people carried in their pockets and purses every single day. But here's the thing: hidden among those ordinary coins are a handful of extraordinary rarities. That's right, a small piece of metal that once bought a newspaper or a cup of tea could now be worth more than a family holiday or even a used car. It's surprising errors, and why collectors will pay such jaw-dropping amounts for the rarest examples. To understand why this coin is so valuable, we need to go back to the 1960s, a time of dramatic change in the United Kingdom. For centuries, Britain had used the old system of pounds, shillings, and pence, a complicated structure that dated back to medieval times. But in 1968, the Royal Mint took the first big step toward decimalization, introducing new coinage to prepare the public for the switch to the decimal system in 1971. One of the very first coins to appear in this new era was the 5 new pence, featuring the familiar profile of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse and the crown thistle, symbol of Scotland, on the reverse. Imagine a coin struck slightly off-center, with the Queen's portrait not perfectly aligned with the rim. Or a coin showing doubling in the inscription. Such double die errors are incredibly rare, and can make collectors bid thousands to secure one. Even more dramatic are wrong planchet errors, where a 1968 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coin might have been struck on a blank intended for another denomination, or even another country's coin. These spectacular minting blunders are the ones that often push values up into the £5,000 to £10,000 range. And let's not forget the proof strikes. In 1968, special proof sets were prepared for collectors, and although most were carefully checked for quality, a handful slipped through with imperfections, tiny blemishes, striking errors, or unusual die varieties. These proof errors are even more desirable because they combine rarity with collectability. A regular 1968 UK Elizabeth 5 new pence proof set might fetch £100 or £300, but a proof coin with a genuine minting error could soar into the thousands. Collectors and dealers alike know that first-year coins often hold hidden treasures. The 1968 Elizabeth II 5 new pence is no exception. Auction houses in London and across the UK have seen rare examples of this coin fetch extraordinary prices. One specimen, showing a clear mistrike, sold for over £5,000 to a determined collector who simply couldn't resist owning a piece of decimalization history with such a rare flaw. Another coin, with doubled lettering visible under magnification, was valued between £6,000 and £7,000, and proof error strikes. Those almost mythical pieces are rumored to have changed hands privately for close to £10,000. That's the level of demand we're talking about here. The 1970 UK Elizabeth 5 new pence coin. At first glance, it looks like just another everyday coin from the early years of Britain's decimalization. Millions were minted, millions were spent, and millions ended up tossed into drawers or forgotten in jars. But hidden among these ordinary coins are a select few so rare, so unique, and so valuable that they've stunned collectors and auction houses alike. A small coin once used to pay for a bus ticket, a brand new car. And tonight, we're going to uncover why this seemingly ordinary coin can command such extraordinary sums, exploring its history, its errors, and the hidden treasures still waiting to be found. To understand why the 1970 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coin is so special, we need to look at the context. Decimalization was just around the corner, officially taking place in 1971, but coins like the 5 new pence had already been introduced in 1968 to get the public familiar with the new system. The 5 new pence replaced the old shilling, and it was struck in cupernickel, with the obverse showing the young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machen and the reverse depicting the crown thistle, the national emblem of Scotland. This design remained unchanged for years, but the early dates of issue 1968, 1969, and especially 1970 carry particular significance. One of the most thrilling aspects of the 1970 UK Elizabeth V new pence coin is that errors from this year are so much rarer than circulation strikes. Imagine finding a MIS struck coin in a proof set off-center strikes, doubled lettering, die cracks, or even the wrong planchette. Collectors know that such pieces are like lightning in a bottle. A wrong planchette error, for example, where the 5 new pence design was struck on a blank intended for another denomination, could command an extraordinary premium. With so few 1970 coins in existence to begin with, an error like this could easily fetch between £12,000 and £20,000 at auction. Auction records show just how powerful this combination can be. Rare proof errors from the 1970 Elizabeth II 5 new pence have sold for thousands, sometimes changing hands privately for undisclosed sums. Collectors who specialize in decimal coinage know that 1970 is a pivotal year, and they're willing to stretch their budgets to secure one of these rarities. Dealers report that serious buyers will pay over £12,000 for a confirmed major error, with certain spectacular examples reaching £16,000 or more. The most legendary pieces, the ones with dramatic mistakes and flawless preservation, are whispered about in collecting circles as being worth up to £20,000. Those numbers aren't just fantasy. They reflect the real passion and competition among collectors who want the best. The 1971 UK Elizabeth V new pence coin. At first glance, it looks so ordinary, so common, that you might walk right past it without even noticing. Millions were struck, millions were spent, and millions ended up rattling around in pockets, purses, and jars of change across the United Kingdom. But hidden among all those ordinary coins are a handful of extraordinary rarities. Error coins so unusual, so breathtakingly rare, that they have stunned collectors and auction houses alike. And here's the shocking truth: the most valuable examples could barely buy a newspaper with it, could now be worth more than a brand new luxury car. To understand why the 1971 UK Elizabeth V new pence coin is so important, we have to remember the moment in history it represents. Decimalisation had finally arrived. On the 15th of February 1971, Britain abandoned the centuries-old system of pounds, shillings, and pence, and the nation switched to a modern decimal currency. For most people, this was a confusing change, but for the Royal Mint it was the culmination of years of planning and preparation. The 5 new pence coin, which had already been introduced in 1968, now officially took its place in the new system. It replaced the old shilling, and its size and weight were identical to that coin to make the transition easier for the public. On the obverse was the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machen, young and serene. What makes the 1971 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coin so fascinating is that it was the coin of everyday life. Millions of people handled it every day, often without giving it a second thought. It jingled in change purses, bought cups of tea, paid bus fares, and passed from hand to hand across the country. And yet, among those countless ordinary coins were the extraordinary mistakes, the accidents that slipped past quality control and found their way into circulation. The idea that such a coin, once overlooked as nothing more than pocket change, could today be worth £24,000 to £30,000 is almost unbelievable. And yet, it's absolutely true. Auction houses across the UK and beyond have seen these rare coins come to market. Stories circulate of collectors who stumbled upon unusual 1971 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coins in jars of old change, only to discover later that they were sitting on a small fortune. Dealers speak of bidding wars erupting when a spectacular error comes up for sale, driving prices higher and higher until only the most determined bidder remains. The records show that rare examples have sold for over £24,000 to £27,000, with private sales rumored to have reached £30,000. These are not just coins, they are pieces of history, artifacts of a monumental change in Britain's currency, and symbols of the incredible value hidden in the most unlikely places. The 1978 UK Elizabeth V new pence coin. At first glance, it seems like nothing more than another small cubernickel coin from the late 1970s. Millions were struck, millions were spent, and millions ended up rattling in pockets, jars, and drawers across Britain. But here's the secret most people don't know. Among those countless ordinary coins are a tiny handful of extraordinary rarities. Minting errors so unusual, so breathtakingly rare, that collectors will stop at nothing to own them. Tonight, We're going to unravel the fascinating history of this coin, the story of how it was made. The 1978 UK Elizabeth V new pence coin comes from a fascinating moment in Britain's numismatic history. By the late 1970s, the decimal system was firmly established, having replaced the old pounds, shillings, and pence in 1971. People were fully used to the new money, and the 5 new pence had already been circulating for a decade. The coin was struck in cupronickel, with the obverse bearing the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Arnold Machen, showing the Queen wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. On the reverse was the crown thistle, the proud emblem of Scotland, designed by Christopher Ironside. For everyday use, the coin was utterly ordinary. One of the most valuable types of error for the 1978 Elizabeth V new pence coin is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet isn't seated correctly in the press and the design is struck off to one side. Sometimes, the Queen's portrait appears shifted, with a portion missing, or with blank metal visible on the edge. Off-center strikes are eye-catching, instantly noticeable, and collectors love them. A dramatic example in high grade could easily be worth £33,000 or more. Another error that excites collectors is the doubled die. This happens when the die itself has been engraved twice, slightly out of alignment, causing doubling on the design. You might see doubled lettering on new pence, or even doubling in the Queen's portrait itself. These are the kinds of errors that send shivers down collectors' spines, because they're so rare and so visually striking. A doubled die 1978 5 new pence could command prices pushing £36,000 or higher, especially if the doubling is dramatic and the coin is in pristine condition. Auction records bear this out. Over the years, rare examples of the 1978 UK Elizabeth V new pence coin with dramatic errors have surfaced, and when they do, the bidding is fierce. Collectors know how rare these coins are, and they're willing to pay whatever it takes to own one. Sales of £33,000 to £36,000 are not unusual for the most dramatic errors, and rumors of private sales reaching £40,000 continue to circulate in the numismatic world. These coins aren't just currency, they're treasures, pieces of history that tell the story of how accidents at the Royal Mint can create priceless collectibles. The 1979 UK Elizabeth V new pence coin. To most people, just another small piece of change from the late 1970s. Millions were struck, millions were spent, and millions passed through hands, without a second thought. But hidden among those ordinary coins is a handful so rare, so extraordinary, that they have become legends in the world of collecting. We're talking about minting errors so dramatic, so unusual, that a coin once worth just 5 pence can now fetch eye-watering sums of money. A coin that once bought a packet of crisps or a bus fare could today buy a brand new luxury car or even a small house. The 1979 Elizabeth V new pence coin sits at a fascinating crossroads in British coinage. Decimalization had been in place for nearly a decade, and by this time, the new pence system was firmly established in everyday life. The 5 new pence coin was still the larger, cupronickel version introduced in 1968, weighing 5.65 grams and measuring 23.59 millimeters in diameter. On the obverse, it bore the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by Arnold Machen, showing her wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. On the reverse, it carried the crown thistle, the national emblem of Scotland, designed by Christopher Ironside. For the vast majority of coins, that was all there was to it, a simple, everyday piece of change. Errors are what turn an ordinary coin into a treasure. And the 1979 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coin is no exception. Some of the most valuable examples feature off-center strikes, where the blank planchet wasn't properly aligned with the dies. The result is a coin where the design is shifted to one side, leaving part of the coin blank and the rest distorted. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin. Collectors go wild for these because they're instantly recognizable and incredibly rare. A 1979 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coin with a severe off-center strike could easily reach £50,000 at auction. Then there are double die errors. These happen when the die used to strike the coin was itself engraved twice, slightly out of alignment. On the 1979 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coin, this can cause doubling of the letters in new pence, or even visible doubling in the Queen's portrait. These are spectacular to look at, and are among the most desirable types of minting errors. A bold double die in pristine condition could push the value of a coin well past £55,000. Auction records show just how sought after these coins are. When a rare 1979 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coin with a spectacular error surfaces, it never goes unnoticed. Collectors know that these coins are vanishingly rare, and bidding wars can quickly push prices into the tens of thousands. Stories circulate of private sales reaching £50,000, £55,000, and even £60,000. For a small cupronickel coin once dismissed as pocket change, that kind of valuation is staggering. Yet it reflects the sheer rarity and desirability of these errors. The 1980 UK Elizabeth 5 new pence coin. To most people, it's just another small piece of change from Britain's decimal coinage era, a tiny silver-colored coin that passed from hand to hand in everyday life. But what if I told you that hidden among those millions of ordinary coins are a few astonishing rarities, minting errors so rare and so dramatic that collectors are willing to pay more than most people earn in a year just to own one? A coin once worth 5 pence, barely enough to buy a newspaper, could now be worth more than a brand new luxury car or even a deposit on a house. The 1980 Elizabeth 5 new pence coin comes from the last decade of the large-sized 5 new pence, introduced in 1968 as part of decimalization. The coin was struck in cupronickel, measuring 23.59 millimeters in diameter and weighing 5.65 grams. The obverse features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machen, one of the most iconic images of the Queen, showing her wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. The reverse carries Christopher Ironside's crown thistle design, the proud symbol of Scotland, framed by the words new pence. For the vast majority of coins struck in 1980, this was their story: simple, functional, and unremarkable. The magic of the 1980 Elizabeth 5 new pence coin lies in these errors. They are the accidents that slipped past quality control, the tiny mistakes that became miracles. And it is those miracles that today drive collectors into frenzies at auctions. Some of the most valuable examples come from off-center strikes, where the blank planchette was misaligned during striking. This results in coins with designs shifted dramatically to one side, sometimes leaving a large portion of the coin blank. The more severe the misalignment, the higher the value, and a dramatic off-center strike on a 1980 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coin could command prices of £64,000 or more. Another spectacular error is the double die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin has been engraved twice, slightly out of alignment, creating a doubling effect on the design. On the 1980 Elizabeth 5 new pence coin, this could mean doubled lettering on new pence. Auction records confirm the value of these rarities. When an error 1980 Elizabeth II 5 new pence coin surfaces, collectors know they're witnessing something special. Ordinary examples are common, but errors are vanishingly rare, and the competition to own them is fierce. Stories circulate of coins selling privately for £64,000, £68,000, or even £70,000, with bidding wars driving prices higher and higher. For a coin once worth a mere 5 pence, these values are staggering. Yet they are a testament to the power of rarity, history, and human fascination with the extraordinary.